What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading. Today, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite topics, which is how to trade macro catalysts like macro data. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. So I guess to start off, guys, I'll just quickly summarize the three kind of key macro data points we're going to be looking at today. These are, of course, unemployment data, aka the employment situation, the consumer price index, which is basically inflation, and of course the Federal Reserve's meetings. So starting with the unemployment situation, of course this is basically unemployment data, and the higher the unemployment goes, the higher the chance that the Fed will cut rates, but also the higher the risk of like a recession, and the lower that the unemployment rate goes, then the lower the chance of a recession, but also the lower chance that the Fed will cut rates. So it's kind of like this interesting kind of delicate balancing act where, you know, you want to have a little bit of weakening in the employment situation so that the Fed kind of becomes more dovish, but you don't want too much, or else you'll end up in a recession. And of course, that begs the question of like, how can you get a sense of how these prints are going to happen? And of course, I'll start by saying that the next kind of unemployment print here is going to be on July 3rd, which I believe will be roughly a week from the time you see this video, basically right around the corner. And it might beg the question of like, okay, what's this data going to come out as? And I think it's probably going to be super benign, as it has been for the last few months. And why is that? Because basically, guys, of the gig economy. So this is actually a super fascinating topic. Basically, unemployment in the U.S. has been, you could argue, artificially low, because when someone loses their job, instead of filing for unemployment or saying, hey, I'm looking for work and I can't find any work, what they do instead is that they go start working for Uber or working for DoorDash or whatever, and they work these gig jobs until they find another job. So they basically never show up in the data as someone who's looking for work because they're technically employed, right? And then the result is that the unemployment rate is like basically low, because even though there's lots of people who are technically out of work and can't find work, they're doing other kind of works, like other kind of gig work in the meantime, and that's keeping the data super low, which is super fascinating. The other thing as well is that, on the other hand, I guess you could say, is that lots of businesses, especially small businesses, recently, they have not been hiring as much because they're really concerned around the tariffs, which means that there's less and less jobs to go around. But again, in theory, this is not really something that's going to look like show up in the data, because again, all these people who are not finding jobs at these small businesses, they're just saying, okay, well then I guess I'll just work in the gig economy. And of course, this does actually also tie into inflation. So inflation, the next print here is going to be coming up on July 15th. And again, we have to ask ourselves, okay, how is this print going to come out? Is it going to be bullish? Is it going to be bearish? In case it wasn't clear enough, this unemployment print is probably going to be super benign. Maybe it'll rise up a little bit, who knows, but it's probably not going to be anything too crazy, at least not yet. Again, this brings us to the CPI. And as a fun fact, guys, I was predicting since, I think it was basically over a year, so since like March last year, I was predicting that the CPI would start coming in lower over the spring and summer of 2025. And I've been basically right, because the last three CPI prints all came in lower than expected. And I think it's possible that the next CPI print will as well, but I suspect it'll probably come a little bit more within range of expectations. And then maybe later into the fall, we'll start to see CPI rising again. But anyways, you might be wondering, okay, how did you predict that inflation was going to fall like a year out? And it kind of has to do with two factors. The first of these is that there was a huge drop in illegal border crossings. Of course, it's something you couldn't have really predicted that far in advance. But I would make the argument that even since mid last year or even earlier, a lot of people were not really happy with the huge amount of mass immigration into the U.S. And of course, a lot of immigration into the U.S., this has the practical effect of causing services, specifically around housing, basically services inflation related to housing, to rise, because you have more and more people coming, buying houses, renting places, whatever, and this basically increases the cost for everyone else. And of course, one of the main reasons why CPI has been so high is because of services inflation, specifically related to shelter. So when you have less people coming over the border, ever since Trump got into office, it's only a matter of time that you would start to see basically a huge drop in shelter and related inflation, and you would basically have CPI come in lower than expected. Another factor actually has to do with tariffs, which is, you know, a little bit paradoxical, because everyone was saying that like, oh, the tariffs are going to cause inflation, they're going to cause inflation, but in the end they didn't. And you might be wondering why. And the short answer, guys, is that companies were actually stockpiling goods since as early as November 2024. So even before the whole April, you know, Liberation Day with all that craziness, even before that, companies had been stockpiling inventories because they knew that these tariffs would come and they wanted to minimize their costs. And the result is that you have basically a huge stockpile of goods, basically for the whole summer, where these companies, they don't really need to import anything else, so they don't really feel the need to pass on those price increases to consumers yet, right? Again, I do think that's going to change by the end of the year. But again, again, with all these companies stockpiling goods so far in advance, this basically means that the goods inflation is either rising slower or not rising at all. And at the same time, we have services inflation, which again was the primary reason why CPI was high. We have services inflation coming down, which again is why I've been predicting that inflation would fall. And I do think it's possible that it will still fall again next month, but who knows? Especially with the kind of conflict earlier this month between Israel and Iran, which raised oil prices, that could also be playing a role. A fall in oil prices was another reason why I kind of doubled down on my low inflation call, because of course with oil prices falling, that's going to basically bring down the inflation for everything. So again, to quickly recap, this unemployment print that's coming up on July 3rd, probably nothing burger, probably just like pretty neutral data. CPI print at this point, it's either going to be neutral or maybe, who knows, it'll still come in a little bit below expectations, but I suspect that next time it'll probably come in within expectations. So again, nothing, like basically like a nothing burger, so potentially nothing crazy. But for the sake of argument, let's just say, that there's going to be some really crazy data around these data points. The interesting thing, guys, about these economic releases is that they all happen before U.S. markets open, and this has some pretty fascinating dynamics. So we'll come back to the Fed in a second. I just want to explain this real quick before I forget. When we have this unemployment data and CPI data coming in before markets open, obviously crypto is the first to respond to this, and then the markets respond later. But the thing is, guys, and this is where things get a little bit tricky, and where I'm talking about like trading these catalysts. With crypto, trading these catalysts is extremely difficult the moment that they happen. Basically when you get these key data prints, especially if they're super significant, like came in lower than expected or higher than expected, you're going to see very sudden movements in crypto, not necessarily related to the print, but related to an unwind of leverage. Because basically, as we approach that time frame, as we approach basically that 8:30 a.m. EST time, you have more and more traders. There's almost like a concentration of leverage that builds up, like literally within like the last few minutes just before that data comes out, and then it comes out, and then you have like long liquidation, short squeeze, all whatever just happening in tandem. Like you have like this like very, if you look and actually zoom in, like I won't do that right now because it's like this. You can literally just search it or even just look next time. When you get this CPI print, like zoom in to like Bitcoin, I don't know, like the 15-minute chart or 1 hour chart. It's just like a freaking zoo, so this is the type of price action that happens. And of course, that begs the question of like, how exactly then can you trade these catalysts? Well, first of all, you have to kind of have the awareness or like, I guess you could say awareness and understanding of how the Fed is likely to respond, and in turn, how the broader markets are likely to respond. So, for example, if we see unemployment roughly around the same level, or then of course, like it's not going to mean anything for the Fed. It's not going to have much of a change. If inflation comes in lower than expected, then investors could expect that the Fed is going to lower interest rates. And so, irrespective of what crypto does in the short term, you can say with literally like immediately within the first 15 minutes, you can say with relative certainty that when the markets open, they're probably going to open higher, because the investors will realize, yes, that there's a higher chance that the Fed will cut rates because inflation came in lower than expected again. But again, even with stocks, guys, and this is where things get a little bit crazy. Even with stocks, there's a lot of kind of like volatility right when the stock market opens, like right at like 9:30. You'll also see a little bit of like liquidations, lots of movement, which is why, and I guess, this is like the key takeaway, I guess, of this video, is that when you get macro data, like a CPI, like an unemployment, or even something like a Fed meeting, which we'll get to in a second, then you need to wait at least a few hours after U.S. markets open to see how investors digest the data. Because not only do you have to wait for the kind of leverage and liquidations in crypto to go away, but you also have to wait for that same volatility to go away in stocks. Give it an hour or two, and then after that point, you should get a clearer view of like, okay, this is how the markets are actually interpreting this data. Because it'll happen sometimes, for example, that you'll get a print that doesn't look that good. For example, hypothetically, like you have like an unemployment print that comes in higher than expected. Initially, you get like a sell-off because people think, oh my God, recession. But then later in the day, people are like, you know what? I actually think this isn't that bearish, and I think that the Fed is actually going to cut in response to this, so it becomes bullish like later in the day, right? That's what makes trading this macro data super tricky. But again, like I guess again, as a rule of thumb, you want to know when these things are going to happen, obviously, which you can find on the BLS calendar and also on the Fed's calendar here. You want to know when these catalysts are going to happen. You want to understand that the initial reaction from crypto is going to be super volatile, and you should not be reading into it at all. And you should also know that when U.S. markets open, you're going to see something similar. And then finally, you should know that you're only going to start to see how the markets are actually digesting this later in the day, in that trading day. So I guess last thing before I forget, we want to look now at the Federal Reserve. So of course, the next meeting is coming up here at the end of July. What makes this meeting so significant is that it's the last one over the summer. The next Fed meeting won't be until mid-September. And this is kind of, again, like a blessing and a curse in the sense that when the Fed goes off, like for holiday for the summer, then any kind of like economic data that comes out between now and then, I don't want to say it has like less of an impact, but it's almost like the markets are kind of like, woo, like we can do whatever we want because like the Fed's not gonna say anything crazy, until like maybe I guess technically Jackson Hole in August. But in all seriousness, like this kind of last meeting tends to be quite significant, and of course, happening at the end of the month, which is also like a kind of key. Like there's almost like even like a monthly phenomenon where like you'll see like rebalancing potentially at the end of each month and whatever. Again, this is stuff that's like super technical that even I don't fully understand, so I'm not going to get into it. But point being is that that the Fed meeting is coming at the end of July, so you have to think, okay, like what was all the economic data that came in before that, and what is the Fed likely to do or say? And the main thing you have to keep in mind is that the Fed is going to do or say stuff that is ultimately within the guidance that is already given. And especially in this case, you would want to remember and know what the Fed said at its last meeting, what it would do in future meetings, and ask yourself, okay, the Fed said it would do this at future meetings. How likely is this to happen in the July meeting versus the September meeting, whether it's a rate cut or pause or QT or QE or whatever, right? You have to ask yourself, based on the data that has come in, the Fed last time they said they're going to do this. Could they do that at this meeting? And then if yes, then you can again take that as a way of like potentially trading that and thinking, okay, I have a sense that going into this meeting, the Fed's going to be more dovish than the markets are expecting, or that the Fed is going to be more dovish, and I can basically position and potentially go long. But again, same idea like with the unemployment and the CPI. You have to wait until, like the markets have digested everything. You have to wait until Jerome Powell gets on stage, says all this stuff. And then even sometimes you have to wait until the next day when US markets open and then trade for a few hours before you can say, okay, this is how the markets are interpreting it and it's bullish or bearish or whatever, right? So that's what makes things super tricky, again, trading these macro catalysts. But in my personal opinion, it's not, I guess, that hard to like know like roughly what's going to happen. And usually like most of the time what happens is just like a lot of leverage driven volatility and then just like nothing burger. Right. But it is a good idea to be familiar again with at least with the with the unemployment data, at least with the consumer price index, and at least with what the Fed is going to do in response to this data. And again, to get a sense of roughly where this data could go based on these nuances. In my opinion, it's a super interesting topic. It's helped me out a lot. It's helped me kind of, again, predict like the fall in inflation. And I do think it's going to lead to a massive rally over the summer as the Fed basically eases in response to this data. But anyways, that's, I guess, a topic for another video. But anyways, guys, if you did make it this far, then you want to help us out, then be sure to check out the Coin Bureau deals page. We have lots of deals on exchanges, hardware wallets, everything you could possibly need in your crypto journey. Taking advantage of these deals is super interesting. Just go down into the description and you can click the link there. In this case, for Binance, we have a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 of bonuses. Clicking on that link takes you to a page that looks like this. Just enter your email or phone number. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. If you can't use Binance for whatever reason, do check out the other exchange deals we have. Arkham Exchange is available to US users, and we do have other exchanges here that are available to users who might have trouble accessing Binance for whatever reason. And when you use these deals, guys, it helps us out a lot because we get a cut of the trading fee discount. You get a trading fee discount, or sorry, we get a cut of the trading fee. You get a trading fee discount, and the exchange gets a new user. It gets a new user, so it's a win-win-win for everyone. Anyways, guys, if you did make it this far, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one.